Anyways, continuing further. Yeah, so now let's take a look at the mainstream overview of COVID-19. So let's first go over the mainstream overview of COVID-19 as summarized by the main, by the mainstream narrative, or the, actually no, this word is good, by the mainstream narrative machine, which is Wikipedia. Yes, if you want a mainstream narrative on anything, just go to Wikipedia and it will tell you that. Although ChatGPT is right up there too now. So Wikipedia right here. Basically, just starting over here. So coronavirus disease 2019, abbreviated COVID-19, is a contagious disease caused by a virus, the severe acute respiratory syndrome, coronavirus 2, or SARS-CoV-2, or CoV-2. And also a note here, this coronavirus disease, abbreviated COVID right here. So CoV is for the coronavirus, and then ID, I believe that's identified in 2019. Yes. All right, continuing further. So the first known case was identified in Wuhan, China in December 2019. The disease quickly spread worldwide, resulting in the COVID-19 pandemic. The symptoms of COVID-19 are variable, but often include fever, cough, headache, fatigue, breathing difficulties, loss of smell, and loss of taste. Symptoms may begin 1 to 14 days after exposure to the virus, and at least a third of people who are infected do not develop noticeable symptoms. So basically a third have no symptoms. Of those who develop symptoms noticeable enough to be classified as patients, most 81% develop mild to moderate symptoms up to mild pneumonia, while 14% develop severe symptoms, dyspnea, hypoxia, or more than 50% lung involvement on imaging. And 5% develop critical symptoms, respiratory failure, shock, or multi-organ dysfunction. And older people are at a higher risk of developing severe symptoms, and some people continue to experience a range of effects called long COVID for months after recovery, and damage to organs has been observed. Multi-year studies are underway to further investigate the long-term effects of the disease. All right, so frequency here is 676,609,955 cases. Yeah, basically almost 700 million supposed cases, and this is as of March 12th when I was first writing this up. And then deaths as of March 12th, 2023, supposedly 6,881,955. So basically almost 7 million supposed deaths. Note that the world population is currently at about 8.021 billion. And here's a breakdown I made of the above figures. All right, so here is the breakdown I made. I made an Excel file, and you can download it, and then you can play around with it. It has all the calculations in there. So what I did was, first I made a relative percentage, and this is relative to each subsequent section here. So for example, if you have 100% of the population, and then you'll have 8% are cases, and this is derived from this 676 million cases as a percentage of this 8 billion. So that will be 8%. And then, so that means 92% of the world have aren't a COVID case. In other words, they didn't, quote, test positive, whatever that means. All right, so now we have the next section here. So now we'll have, going back up here, at least a third of people who are infected, or a case, do not develop noticeable symptoms. So then this is a third is of this. So 1/3 of this 8% have no symptoms. Then you have this one is the remaining is the symptoms, 2/3. And then going further, you'll have 81% are mild to moderate of the ones that show symptoms, going back up here. So of those who develop symptoms, notable enough to be classified as patients, then most 81% develop mild to moderate, while 14 are severe, and then the 5% are critical, and so on. So we have this. So we have 81% of these. So this is what I mean by relative. Yes, 81% of people with symptoms are mild to moderate. Then you have 14% severe, 5% critical. And now the deaths part is Yeah, this is 31% of these would be deaths, and I used this deaths figure as well as calculating the population with critical cases there, and then use as a relative of that. So 31% of the people with critical cases died, and then 69% didn't die. And again, this is as of March 12th, 2023. Going further, I made an absolute percent cases, and this one's actually absolute percent from cases. So this table I made, so you have cases right here, and then so we start off from here. We're basically we're gonna start off, make this 100%. So we're gonna ignore this, start off at 100%, and then we're gonna instead of doing relative to each one, we're gonna do this all absolutes from the case. So in other words, so if you have cases like this, you'll have 33% or a third no symptoms, 2/3 symptoms. And then you'll have, of the cases, 50%, 54 is mild, 9% severe, 3% critical. And then supposedly you have 1% deaths and then 2% non-deaths of these critical ones. So you'll have 1% of all cases are deaths, which is very interesting. Interesting statistic, highly questionable though. Anyways, now let's look at the absolute percentage. And this is based on starting off from 100% population. So you have 100% population, you have 8% cases, 92% non-cases, and then 3% no symptoms, 6% symptoms, then you'll have 5% mild to moderate symptoms, and then you'll have 1% of this entire world is severe, 0.3 is critical, you have 0.2% non-deaths of these critical ones, but then you'll have 0.1% of the population has died, supposedly, from COVID. All right, and then going, now here's the absolute numbers. You have 8 billion population, 7 billion have no cases, 76 million have cases, 225 million have no symptoms, 451 million have symptoms, and these again have the cases, because these ones would be counted as the no symptoms there. So you have basically almost, you'll have 7.5 billion plus no symptoms at all. So now you'll have 365 mild to moderate symptoms, 365 million. And 63 severe symptoms, 22 million critical symptoms, and then 15.6 million non-deaths of the critical, and then 6.8 million deaths supposedly. That's very, very interesting. All right, I just wanted to go over that overview. So these are some big but highly questionable numbers that need further investigation. And going further, the Wikipedia article references the following paper on patient 0. See if they have a link there. So this was over here. I believe this is the one they referenced in the Wall Street Journal article. So just references an article here. So in hunt for COVID-19 origin, patient 0 points to second Wuhan market. And the man with the first confirmed infection of the new coronavirus told the WHO team that his parents had shopped there. All right. Yeah, it all sounds like a movie, actually. And continuing further, the World Health Organization's mission to Wuhan said the coronavirus most likely spread naturally to humans through an animal. And this Wall Street Journal's Jeremy Page reports on what scientists learned during this weeks-long investigation. This is Wuhan Institute of Virology, and they're all masked up. And this article is from February 26, 2021. Interesting. So, again, note that his parents, quote, his parents shopped at a Wuhan seafood market, and somehow that makes headline news. Anyways, the quote, virus that is blamed for the above questionable statistics is the severe acute respiratory syndrome coronavirus 2 or SARS-CoV-2 or CoV-2. And here is another Wikipedia link. This is on that quote virus itself. And here's some electron images of it. Make this a bit smaller. So there is some colorized electron microscope images of this. So colorized transmission electron micrograph of SARS-CoV-2 or CoV-2 virions, or just virus particles, with visible coronae. So these are these supposed solar corona on the edges there. And yeah, just on these around it like that and so on. Very interesting. Now here is a model of it. So here's model of the external structure of the SARS-CoV-2 virion. So yeah, this is much more detailed cartoon of this colorized. So it's actually black and white, but they just added colors of the supposed different proteins or the genetic material inside. Yeah, it's very interesting. Going further, and now here's transmission of SARS-CoV-1 and 2 is the new one. CoV-1 was in the early 2000s, I believe. So from mammals as biological carriers to humans. So there is bat to raccoon, or bat to human, and there's to human, and then human to others. Yes, this is like Sesame Street. Transmission of SARS-CoV-1 and SARS-CoV-2 from mammals to biological carriers to humans. All right, so there is a bat. So samples taken from Rhinolophus sinicus, a species of horseshoe bats, shown an 80% resemblance to SARS-CoV-2. So supposed samples from it, do some sequencing, and assume there's a virus in this bat, and then somehow they match up with this SARS-CoV-2, or 80% resemblance of it. So yes, poor bat there. Going further, so genomic organization of isolate. So yes, isolate Wuhan. This is Wuhan human 1, the earliest sequenced sample of SARS-CoV-2. And here's some. These are genetic sequences. And this is one string. There's a title for it. And here's another string of genetic sequences, or just base pairs, and so on. And it has about almost 30,000 total. So here's the, this is Genome ID, and this is NCBI, or National Center for Biotechnology Information. Genome ID 86693, and the genome size is 29,903 bases. And year of completion, 2020. Now here is another supposed isolate. So transmission electron micrograph of SARS-CoV-2 virons read, isolated from a patient during the COVID-19 pandemic. So if this is isolated, why is there other stuff? This is colorized, so these little things are supposed to be the virus, and these are other cells. In other words, it's not common sense isolated. It's whatever this is. Going further, and now here is a phylogenetic tree based on whole genome sequences of SARS-CoV-2 and related coronaviruses. So here's SARS-CoV-1, 79% similar to SARS-CoV-2. And there's the SARS-CoV-2 related ones. You have all these other random genetic codes. There's from bats, pangolins, and so on. And you have a lot of these bats. And there's the SARS-CoV-2 one. All right, here's some more digital colorized scanning electron micrographs of SARS-CoV-2 virons, yellow, emerging from human cells, cultured in a laboratory. So you have human cells, and then you put in a petri dish and grow them, add a bunch of other stuff to it, and then you take these electron micrographs images, which are pretty much stationary. There's no actual video, so so they're emerging, but you're not actually seeing anything emerge. You just see these blobs, and then colorize it and say those are the virus or viron.